Hello, 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 and welcome back to another story time. I'm so glad to see you, and I'm sure by now you know what to do. But in case it's your first time here, put on something cozy, grab a warm drink, and let's get ready to tell a story. Today's story is The Little Mermaid, another personal favorite of mine growing up. Who knew that stories about other worlds could be so much fun to tell? And you know what? I still like stories about going to other worlds. This one is a little bit different though, because it's about someone coming from somewhere else and joining our world. In a lot of fantasy novels, the protagonist is stolen away to the Fey realm, or they're taken somewhere far from Earth. But in this case, a mermaid wants to become human. What a rare treat. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the story of The Little Mermaid. Once upon a time, deep down under the sea, lived a little mermaid. She lived with her father, the Sea King, in a palace made of coral. She loved to swim and splash and sing, but most importantly, she loved to collect the treasures that washed beneath the waves from the human world. The Sea King would try to confiscate those treasures whenever he saw her collect them. He warned the merfolk that they must never go up to the surface, that humans are just too dangerous. But the little mermaid thought humans were a bit more interesting. She loved to check out the old shipwrecks on the seafloor, collecting anything that sunken sailors may have left behind. One day, she was swimming out to a sunken ship with her friend, a crab. They were very close to the surface, and the crab kept telling her to keep her head under the surface where it belonged. But then the little mermaid saw a boat passing overhead. She swam right up to it to get a closer look and saw a handsome young man running along the top deck with his dog. Well, she didn't know it yet, that young man was a prince. And as the little mermaid watched, a big storm blew in, and the dog's lead fell out of the prince's hand. He stretched out to grab it, but fell overboard with a great splash, and the dog began to bark to warn the others. The prince began to sink deeper and deeper. It seemed that he did not know how to swim, or maybe he was just a terrible swimmer. But down, down, down he went. He may as well have been made of stone. The little mermaid saw all of this happen, and the crab warned her not to interfere with human affairs, just as her father had always said. Mermaids did not belong on the surface, and humans did not belong in the water. Fretting on what to do, the little mermaid dove beneath the waves, swimming down and scooping him up. There, she brought him to the beach and sung to him softly until he woke. The prince opened his eyes just a little bit and saw a kind face looking down at him. But then he fell right back to sleep. And when he woke up, the prince promised that he would find the girl who rescued him. He wanted to thank her. The prince looked and looked and looked, but he couldn't find her. He didn't know that the girl who saved him didn't belong to the human world at all, but lived under the sea. Now the Sea King, he was furious when he found out that his daughter had directly misobeyed an order. He only wanted to protect her, so he decided that he would stop her interests in humans once and for all. The king swam to where he knew his daughter would be, in a small alcove full of treasure. And with his magic trident, he smashed all of her human treasures to pieces. The little mermaid burst into tears when she saw all of her broken treasures. Then she thought about how wonderful it would be if she had never been a mermaid at all, but had two legs to join those up on land. A bit later, the little mermaid swam out on her own, and then she met a sea witch. And the sea witch said she could turn the mermaid into a human for 3 whole days. That sounds nice, she thought. But what about the price? Because, like the Sea King had said, all magic comes with a cost. The price, the Sea Witch said eagerly, is your voice. But without my voice, how am I going to communicate with the humans? The little mermaid asked. Oh, don't worry about that. The Sea Witch smiled. So, do we have a deal or not? The little mermaid hesitated. Oh, all right. And she reached out her hand, a feather quill appearing in it. A contract appeared in front of her with a flash of golden light. And when she signed her name, poof, the contract disappeared. Now don't worry, it won't hurt. Well, maybe only a little bit, the Sea Witch said. And with a wave of her hand, the little mermaid's tail disappeared, turning into a pair of legs. Now, the little mermaid realized she had a new problem. Without her tail, she could not breathe underwater. She began to choke beneath the sea, wondering if that was where she would die and if the terrible sea witch had tricked her. Darkness overcame her, and when the mermaid woke, she was on the beach, wrapped in nothing but an old blanket. The prince was walking his dog along the beach, and suddenly he saw her laying there, confused. Immediately, he recognized her as the one who had saved her. Oh, yes, said the princess regent. Let us return with her. They whisked her away to the castle, where the little mermaid took her first steps as a human. She was dressed in finery fit for royalty and given all sorts of jewels. Together, she and the prince sat at a grand table, but the foods looked so different from her home. Not hungry? Asked the prince. The little mermaid shook her head. She pointed to her plate. That, said the prince, that's crab. With a gasp, the little mermaid pushed the plate away. You don't like seafood? Asked the prince, and she shook her head. The prince ordered the chef then to make her something new, and out he brought a large plate of cake, which she happily ate up, because who doesn't like cake? The next day, the prince took the little mermaid on a boat ride. She was fascinated by everything she saw and how everything worked. With one look at the deep blue water in the boat, the little mermaid had begun to grow homesick. The sea witch was watching all of this from her crystal ball. That girl has no choice. She'll either have to live as a human or a mermaid. The trouble was, the little mermaid really liked the prince, and the prince really liked her, and so did his dog. The crab, who she had befriended from childhood, swam up to the side of the boat. He looked sad, but she knew what she had to do. And so the little mermaid jumped back into the ocean, deciding that she would become a mermaid. But the contract wasn't up, and the sea witch, well, she was hungry for a new voice. And so, using the little mermaid's voice, the sea witch transformed into a beautiful woman and arrived at the edge of the prince's castle. The prince, confused on where the little mermaid may have gone, sat in his room when he heard a beautiful voice call out to him, "Ah, ah, ah." He looked out his window and saw a woman standing on the edge of the beach, wearing a seashell necklace and dressed in a tattered garb. He heard her call out once more, and his eyes lit up, not with love, but with enchantment. "I've fallen in love with this woman," declared the prince. "Regent, I will marry her the next evening." The next evening? But that's so soon. Prince's orders. So the regent ran off to announce the wedding, far and wide. The little mermaid wept and wept, for her contract had not ended and her tail had not returned. She missed her home dearly, but she'd also fallen in love with the prince. And so she walked through the town, confused and alone. "Heary, heary," yelled the town crier. "The prince is to be married to a beautiful woman at dawn in 2 days." Dawn in 2 days, the little mermaid realized. If the prince has fallen in love with another woman, I'll never get my voice back. And I don't know what else will happen. She had never finished reading the end of the contract. The little mermaid ran, going as fast as she could to the castle, only to see the prince with another woman. "Ah," sang the woman, and the mermaid quickly realized that was her voice. The beautiful woman spotted the little mermaid and glared. "Get her!" she cried, and the guards began to chase after her. But the little mermaid grabbed the beautiful woman, and the two of them tumbled before falling out of the window and into the sea. The prince seemed to snap out of his stupor and watched as both the witch and the mermaid appeared before him. The witch grew and grew in size, a great storm gathering over her. "You dare try to break our contract," she yelled, "then I will collect your soul." With the contract broken, and her tail restored, the mermaid also received her voice. For love, I would even drown. The prince in that moment knew what he had to do. So he ran to the wall where his sword had been hung and grabbed it off the shelf. The prince leaped off of the balcony and, despite being a terrible swimmer, jumped straight into the water, landing on the witch's ginormous back. Prince! Shouted the little mermaid, scared that he might drown. Get off of me, you ruffian! Yelled the wicked sea witch, angered at this man's attempt to stop her from collecting the little mermaid's soul. For love, I would even drown, the prince yelled, before stabbing his sword through the sea witch's heart. Down, 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 the sea witch shrank until she turned into a tiny little squid and swam off on her own, the prince's sword clattering to the bottom of the ocean. The prince quickly realized that he still could not swim, and the little mermaid grabbed him and swam him back to shore. I wish I could be part of your world, she said longingly. Well, maybe there is a way. The Sea King had watched all of this transpire, and he had watched how his daughter and the prince bravely fought for one another's love. I'm going to miss you, the Sea King said to his daughter. And I will miss you, the little mermaid said. The Sea King turned to the prince and said, Will you take care of her, even if the sea witch returns? And the prince, in earnest, turned to the Sea King and said, For her, I would learn to swim. With those words, the king turned to his daughter, and with a wave of his trident, her tail turned into a pair of legs. Walking along the shore beside him, the prince proposed to the mermaid, and they were married at dawn the next day. The end. Don't you just love a happy ending? I know I do. Stories teach us a lot of different lessons, and I think that this one teaches us that even in the face of the witch, we can do just about anything. So next time a big task stands before you, don't let it stop you. Just keep swimming. I hope you have a good night wherever you are. And if you enjoyed the story, please consider subscribing to the channel and hitting the notification bell so that you can get notified when the next one is uploaded. Have a good night. Goodbye. Goodbye.